name is Isabel, and today we're going to be making healthy cookie dough truffles. This recipe is inspired by a One Lovely Life recipe, but we're going to tweak it a little bit because we're going to cover the truffles in chocolate, which I think just adds a little bit of an extra, I don't know, just makes them better. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by gathering our ingredients. So what we need is 3 tablespoons of melted coconut oil, which I already have in this pan right there. Kind of leaked out a little bit, maybe a little more. Anyway, so we have the coconut oil in there. And then we need some maple syrup. I'll give you the measurements in a little bit. And then some vanilla, salt, dark chocolate chips, or milk chocolate, whichever one is your favorite. The recipe says mini chocolate chips, and I would probably prefer mini chocolate chips, but we only had dark chocolate chips in the house right now, so that's what we're going with. And then last but not least, almond flour. So let's get right into the recipe. So what makes this recipe super easy is that it's all made in one bowl. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna combine all of our ingredients into this one bowl, and then we're gonna give it a good whisk. So the first thing we have to do is add 3 tablespoons of melted coconut oil to the bowl. So let's do that right now. I have it already melted on the stove. So I'm just gonna pour it into the bowl. Awesome, all done. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add in the 3/4 cup of almond flour, which I have right here, already measured out. We're gonna pour that in. Just let it drop in there. 3/4 cup almond flour. And then we're gonna add 2 to 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm probably gonna do 3 just because I like the sweetness of it all. So we're gonna do 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. 1, 2, 3, yes, looks beautiful. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. This recipe can also be easily doubled so that you can make more cookie dough truffles because it only makes about like 8 cookie dough truffles total. So we're going to add that 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla in there. Beautiful. And then we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which I'm just going to add a couple pinches of salt because I feel like you can kind of just decide how much salt you want in there. Depending on how much salt you want. So we're gonna sprinkle that salt in there. A little more. Yum. Perfect. And then we're gonna add our chocolate chips. So it says 1/4 to 1/3 cup of mini chocolate chips. We're using regular chocolate chips, like I said earlier. So we're just gonna take a couple handfuls, throw them in there. There's one, and then another little bit. Okay. Now we're gonna take a spatula and we're gonna mix it all together. That's kind of what it looks like right now. So we're just gonna use our mixing hands and start mixing it. Okay. And then once it is mixed, it should look like that. You're gonna place it in the refrigerator for about 10 minutes to cool. While that is in the refrigerator, we're going to take the little saucepan, that's what it's called, we use to heat up the coconut oil, and we're gonna keep the remaining coconut oil that we had from before, and then we're just gonna add a couple handfuls of chocolate chips to the saucepan, and we're gonna melt these because this is what we're gonna dip the truffles in once they cool. Beautiful. We'll heat it up on the stove. Once the 10 minutes have passed, you'll take your bowl out of the fridge, and it should be like a hard consistency but able to roll into balls. And so then we're also going to grab a plate, and we're going to line the plate with parchment paper, and then we are going to take a spoon and roll them into balls, or I'm just going to use my hand. So you're just going to take a little dollop of it and roll it into a ball, and then place it on your sheet of parchment paper. This made about 10 different truffles, and so now we are going to take our melted chocolate and we're going to dip the balls in the chocolate. So we have this, and then, oh my goodness, throwing them everywhere. We're gonna take stuff in there, and then just kind of roll them around in there. Be careful of your fingers, and then they look kind of gross, but there they are. And you're just gonna set them on the parchment paper. Once all of your balls are covered in chocolate, they look kind of gross right now, but I promise they'll taste good. Once your truffles are made, you're going to take your sea salt once again, and then you're just going to sprinkle it on top of the truffles. Kind of gives them that sweet and salty taste. Okay, now we're gonna put them in the fridge. After 10 minutes, you can take those out of the refrigerator and they should be ready to eat, and you're left with these beautiful truffles. And these truffles are good for you. They have no refined sugar, no gluten, and you can make them dairy-free if you use coconut oil and dairy-free chocolate chips. Make sure to like and subscribe the video and leave a comment below if you make the truffles, and stay tuned for next week's video. See you guys later.
Thanks for watching.